The next one, low back and core training. Important topic. They can get confused because people with lower back pain are told you need to build your core strength, you need to build your core stability, you need to build your core strength, or you need to build the strength of your lower back muscles. You don't. You need proper core training. You need excuse me. Certainly when in the initial phases, is you need to remove the trigger of the pain. If you can start to understand that and remove that and reduce that, you can then start building in the core training on top of that. And again, that goes back to knowing where to start with the exercise. But again, as a general rule, it will start with isometric exercises. What you will need to do is build in and sort of improve movement, just everyday movement. So lifting, carrying, pushing, pulling, opening doors, closing doors by pushing and pulling, not necessarily doing press ups and pull ups, but pushing and pulling of, doors, pulling doors, lifting shopping bags, things like that, because those movements will need to be improved. But again, you wouldn't do that at a high weight. You would just develop the movement at a low load and then teach them the principles of how the core works within those movements. So you're not teaching them a deadlift. Yes, you are teaching them to lift some shopping bags off the floor, which is essentially a deadlift, but you're trying to teach them the movement of the deadlift, not the deadlift, if that makes sense, with the load. So you need to understand that. So that's kind of how that sits in. What I will also say is a strong core doesn't mean a pain-free lower back, because again, if you are told you need to build core strength, well, how strong does it need to be? If core strength is measured by how much you can lift, then how much do you need to lift? Do you need to lift an absolute weight? Do you need to improve the strength by 10, 20, 30%? None of that information's out there, which tells me you don't need a stronger core. What you need is a core that's where the muscles are working properly. Yes, you need to remove the trigger, but once you've kind of got past that point, you've developed the movement, you then need the core muscles to work at the right time, and you need them to have the capacity. So that's the endurance and the stability. So you need a basic level of strength to be able to get into the positions, then you need the stability for the muscles to time properly, and then you need the endurance to be able to do that over a period of time. So you need kind of all those things with regards to lower back pain. So it's not just a simple case of going and doing a bunch of planks and side planks and then your core will be better. There's a little bit more involved than that to be able to get the most from it, and to really understand how it works. Which kind of then leads on to myths about lower back pain, which I've kind of touched on, and core stability. So core stability, we have to understand, is about muscle timing and smoothness of movement. So again, if you're told you need to build your core stability and then they give you planks and side planks, even those exercises aren't necessarily core stability exercises. They are initially because you're consciously activating the muscles in a brace, which we'll come on to next. But what we need to be able to do is, as we go through dynamic movement, so as the body changes position from like a lifting position, which again, if we think about the deadlift where the body's sort of bent forward at the hips or hinged at the hips and then comes to the upright position and the weights move from the floor up to your side, we need to be able to have the stability, so the timing of the muscles to work properly within that. So we can't just think about I need to do load planks and side planks to build my core stability, because number one, they aren't really building core stability. What they are doing is building a core endurance, but we need to think about stability as something different. So as our body changes position, is our muscle or is our core moving or tensioning with that movement? Which is why we need to then add in the dynamic movement with the load, but that's got to come later on. So just by going in and doing exercise isn't going to remove your lower back pain, or just going in and doing core stability isn't going to remove your lower back pain, because you need to deal with the triggers first. Then you need to build the movement, then you need to build, which in some respects will do a little bit of core strength, stability and endurance, but to then work on it specifically will come a little bit later on. So it's understanding all these different parts, which for the purposes of this podcast, I can't really go into because I'm trying to talk more about the core rather than back pain. But I've talked about back pain for many tutorials and podcasts.